underway for a Thursday show, cutting through the week pretty quickly now. It's another edition of Longshore and McKnight in conjunction with Yellowhammer News and presented by Bud Light. Glad to have you along with us here for the fourth straight day. It's Longshore and McKnight without the Longshore. He's been on vacation all week. We've gotten great, really great cooperation from several special guests to get on to also had a lot of stuff from the chat line brought to you by River Region Straw. Yesterday, lots of great commentary. Our visit with Chris Stewart, the voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, CJ Duncan. Coming up on the show today, no Jason Caldwell. I'll go ahead and tell you that. Jason is traveling. I believe he's on vacation today. Well, maybe not, but he is definitely traveling from auburnundercover.com. Not going to be with us today, but we will have Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, who will be on the program coming up in about an hour. Boy, got a lot to talk about Alabama and recruiting and what's going on with the Crimson Tide. Tomorrow, we'll be live from Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville. Going to talk a little bit about the house settlement and NIL with a good friend, Jason Jones, who had been active in the NIL at Troy. We'll be live in Prattville for that one. Already from the chat line, one of the things that I absolutely wanted to talk from Bama Greg last night, one of the most, boring games in the first 6 innings between LSU and Arkansas, but the last 2 innings were nuts, and LSU ends up winning it. A base hit off of a fielder's glove in the bottom of the ninth. LSU came into it trailing by 2 in the bottom of the ninth because Arkansas scored 2 in the top of the ninth. And LSU ends up winning it. Your College World Series finals are set. It begins on Saturday between LSU and Coastal Carolina. Don't take anything on faith. The fact that I just happen to be wearing a purple shirt today. I'm a huge Coastal Carolina fan in that one as we support the Sun Belt Conference. Also tonight, it's Game 6 of the NBA Finals, the Thunder and the Pacers. It's in Indiana, but the Thunder can close it out with a victory tonight, 7:30 on ABC. Tyrese Halliburton, Indiana's best player, game-time decision with the strained calf. And the Braves, they're teasing me. I had gotten off the Braves bandwagon, and maybe I need to stay off because since I jumped off, well, they have won this series against the Mets, who lead the National League East. New York's now lost 3 in a row. They lose yesterday. Chris Sale came an out away from a complete game shutout. The reigning National League Cy Young Award winner shuts out the Mets on 5 hits. Braves win 5-0. They've got the series against the Mets. They continue on. The Braves will play tonight, again, same time, 6:15 against New York. Trying to keep the hot streak alive. Spencer Strider will go for Atlanta, still battling some injury. He is 1-5 on the season. Lots to talk about still in college athletics. More on the Men's College World Series. The game yesterday, one of the best I've seen, one of the best finishes that I've ever seen. And now you take today off, you take tomorrow off, and the final start on Saturday. It's one of the great, most unsung events going on in the world of sports. That and spring training baseball, 2 of my favorites there. And, of course, we promised this yesterday. The U.S. Open has concluded, and famously now, the U.S. Open at Oakmont, very, very tough course. Maybe you watched some of it. A good friend of mine, Colin McCrary, has worked, plenty of majors, plenty of golf majors, plenty of golf tournaments on the course and everything. And Colin's a guest on the program today. Let's bring him in. Colin McCrary was at Oakmont. Colin, we appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Glad to be here.
tell us a little bit. First of all, yeah, you're probably familiar with the interior of this house where I'm broadcasting from.
Yes,
So
yes.
love the house.
Great house.
Colin, tell us first of all. You've worked with NBC. You've been at, gosh, tons of British Opens, tons of majors and everything. What exactly is your role in all of this?
Okay, I've been a volunteer spotter on the production crew for
Mhm.
9 years now, and I've worked 3 British Opens. I've worked about 8 tour championships. Atlanta, the grand finale. I've probably worked 6 or 7 players championships in Jacksonville. I worked Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill, and this was my first call up to do the U.S. Open, which I gladly accepted. And basically what we do, I'm part of the production crew with the producers and the announcers and the walking announcers on the course, the yardage guys.
Yeah.
And it's changed a lot in the last 9 years with all the additional technology. I don't do yardages in clubs much anymore. But basically what I do is I walk along with the group, and the producers and announcers really want to know the order of play in the fairways. They'll tell me, like when we had a feature group on Saturday, I was assigned a feature group with Rory McIlroy and Xander Schauffele.
Yeah.
And my job there was to cue the famous Bob Ford on the first tee to exactly at 10:34 when to cue him. And so the announcers could make it live, perfectly live. And then Roger Maltby, American Treasure announcer, walking announcer, I walked along with him, and Russ Stye got the yardages for us, fed me the yardages and the clubs, and I would tell Roger with hand signals what clubs they were hitting. And then I had to constantly tell the producers Rory is about to hit his second shot. Good example, second hole, Rory's in the right rough off the tee, Xander's in the left rough. They're exactly the same yardage, and I go up by the green. The producer's asking me who's going first. I say it's too close to tell. And, with my experience, I was able to kind of watch both Rory with my left eye, Xander on the other side of my right eye, and I saw Rory turn and look across the fairway at Xander and just slightly tip his hat. And I knew that was deferring and I said, Xander's going, and I just have to know that body language from experience. And that way the producer can cue the camera tower behind the green and the handheld guy behind to dial in and get ready to put him on. So that's what I do for about, and at the U.S. Open, the rounds were 5.5 to 6 hours. So it's super high concentration. And you're also listening to you're listening to about 20 more spotters, yardage guys. You're listening to 30 conversations in your earpiece all at one time, and you also cannot step over another. Like if a guy's giving yardages on another hole, I've got to wait to a slight break in that conversation to say Xander's going. So it's not easy, and I'm exhausted when I'm through.
It seems like on the television production that it's all seamless. They go, well, let's go to so-and-so where Schauffele's about to hit. I love the insight that, man, it's like a duck. It's calm and unruffled at the top, but you're paddling like heck underneath, right?
There's a trailer at the NBC compound, and crazy after the big rain Friday night and Saturday night, when I get there early in the morning, I describe the NBC compound as a scene from the old show MASH. There's giant mud puddles. There's hundreds of golf carts. There's trailers. There's tents. There's the food commissary there. It's just crazy. It's organized chaos, and it's incredible to watch a telecast. In the last 4 or 5 years, when I'm watching a telecast, I'm looking less at the players and more at the support staff. And I know the camera guys now, and I know the spotters, and I'm looking for spotters. And of course, part of our job is to also, there's over about 125 cameras on that golf course, and we're supposed to try our best to not be in that camera. So my awareness going off the first tee is where's all the cameras.
Yeah.
And try to also position myself where they don't pick me up. That's a big difference in what we do. A basketball game, probably, a Final Four, something like that, probably has 22 to 24 cameras. A football game probably has 30 to 40.
Right.
We have 140 cameras out there. and you got 160 players roaming through 18 holes of golf over about a 7-mile stretch, and there's 3 or 4 producers sitting there in a big trailer with 140 TV screens and one big main screen, and how they coordinate that is truly amazing.
You mentioned well, let me ask you this first of all. Would you get much of a chance to interact with the golfers? I would imagine that you have to stay insulated from them as well.
I don't talk to them. Yeah. There's some strict rules: no autographs, no selfies, no. You just can't really. Now the caddies, we interact with them because we'll kind of shrug our shoulders sometimes, like if we don't get a hand signal on what club is being hit on the par threes, especially, and they're really cooperative with that. We do. If they need a ruling, I'll, like on number 9, I asked one of the players. There was a question whether he was on the green or off the green on the closely mown area at the front. I said, "Do you need an official?" And he nodded, and I called for an official over my headset. If we had some fans pass out in the heat, and you could hear some spotters need a medic on number 7. I got a fan passed out face down. So I mean, we do emergency situations. We call for officials, but we're not to really interact with the player at all or interfere with the player at all.
You mentioned your experience, and you were an All-American golfer in college, Troy Sports Hall of Fame, and all of that. Can you give us some insight into just the competitive nature, watching somebody like Rory compete, and the shot making is extraordinary, but just the mental focus and the approach and the concentration, it's elite, isn't it, Colin?
It's a whole nother level. And I tell some close friends and my competitive golfers that I compete with that these guys are really freaks of nature. They're so good. And, and when I was in my 30s and 40s and was playing really good, sort of competitive amateur golf and U.S. Ambers and stuff like that, people say, "Why don't you go pro?" And that would be like taking a really, really good Charles Henderson high school golfer or saying, "Why don't you go play in the NBA?" I mean, they're that good. They are incredibly good. And one thing that was different about this U.S. Open compared to a Players Championship or even the British Opens that I've worked over at Carnoustie, which Carnoustie is one of the hardest courses in the world.
Right.
At Oakmont, I noticed even in the practice round on Wednesday afternoon when I was out scouting the course, the caddies and the players were getting physically and mentally exhausted by the 15th or 16th hole just in the practice round. And then in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday competitive rounds, my groups, I've never seen, especially Saturday and Sunday, players mentally and the caddies mentally beat up as they were with just 2 to 3 holes to go. They were whipped. And that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Well, I imagine that's the difference a lot of time is how you can compete, aside from the caddies, the golfers themselves, how you can compete when you're whipped. I mean, when you're exhausted, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what wins you the cup.
That's right. And that's what made JJ Svank's birdie finish, and the driver he hit on 17 and the drive he hit on 18 and he just let his talent take over, and I was proud for him. And it's a little bit controversial with the finish Sunday. When we finished our Saturday round spotting, we were in the NBC compound, some of the spotters and some of the yardage guys, and we were looking at the weather forecast. We knew there was going to be a thunderstorm between 3 and 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon, and of course, we're all making travel arrangements to leave Sunday unless there's a playoff Monday. And we were saying, well, they're going to move the tee times up. The USGA and the networks will move the tee times up earlier so they can get through before the 3:30 to 4 o'clock thunderstorm. Mm-hmm. And when we got our assignments in the middle of the night, because I'm checking my assignments from the hotel room, wondering if I got to get up super early, if I've got one of the first groups off, and was shocked to see normal tee times on Sunday. So we kind of knew there was going to be an interruption in it. And then the USGA made the decision to go back out and finish the round, which led to some controversial non-drops for sand burns out of casual water. The course really was unplayable from the fairway standpoint. I understand the ruling he got. His only option, you have to take complete relief from water. You can't. be in a half an inch of water and drop over in an eighth of an inch of water. You got to take complete relief. That's the rule of golf. So his only option was to probably drop in the deep rough. And by the way, the rough was in the practice round Wednesday afternoon was 5.5 inches.
I was going to ask you about that.
You could hear it. You could hear it growing almost every day. And by Sunday, I would estimate it was around 7.5 inches long. It was very, very thick rye, which grows fast. And I also watched them late in the afternoons finishing up. They were raking the roughs backwards toward the tee. So you're hitting into the rough against the grain. And then they had backpack blowers coming behind, fluffing it up even more. So they probably had 15 to 20 workers on every hole late in the afternoon, raking with good old Ace Hardware, wooden handle, plastic wide leaf rakes, dragging it behind them. I've got videos of it. I had to video it. This is crazy, but that's how fluffed up and toward the tee box they made the roughs. But it was growing the 4 days of the tournament.
You've been doing this. You've been doing this for 9 years. You mentioned you've been across the pond. You've done a lot of different things. Best memories of your association in this role with professional golf. What are the takeaways? The biggest takeaways from your work?
There's been some moments where I spotted Webb Simpson when he won at the Players Championship when he had the 63. He was 11 under going into 17, the island green, and I'm on the tee box there to the right behind the caddies in their bags and the producer. I mean, they're just dialed in because he's wearing it out on I believe it was Saturday's round. He went on to win the tournament on Sunday, but the pin's over on the right side, and he's changing clubs back and forth between a 9 and a wedge, and they're asking me the club and all that, and he was very indecisive, and as soon as it left the club face, I knew he tried to rush it and hit it harder, and it started out right, and as soon as the ball got midair, I went, it's wet over my mic, and he hit it in the water, made double bogey, and still shot 63 and won the tournament the next day. That was one of my fondest memories, and going over to see Phil and Francesco Molinari battle it out at Carnoustie. I also traveled. Jim Hughes, a former Troy State golfer on the team with me, he got me into this. He's done it for about 18 to 20 years, and Michael Young has done it for 15 to 16 years. Jim Hughes got me into it. My first tournament was the British Open at Royal Birkdale in 2017. And that was when Spieth and Kuchar battled out on the back nine. And Jim actually had that group. I finished with Dustin Johnson just a few holes later and came back and walked inside the ropes, which I had to make really sure I stayed out of the camera in that situation. But to watch the last 3 holes, and Jim called the last 3, that whole 18 holes with the last 3 holes, that was a special memory. But the 3 of us have traveled together. They didn't get chosen to work the Open this year. I did, and Connie went with me, and Connie and I just had a super special trip. We went a few days early and stayed at Latrobe at Arnold Palmer's hotel at his country club, and that was very special. We went to the Fred Rogers Institute with her childhood education background, and I kind of rolling my eyes. We're going to go to this museum about Mr. Rogers'
neighborhood. Yeah.
And guess who got into it probably more than she did? And finally she said, "Hey, we got to go. We've been here forever." And
Mr. Rogers.
I got a few more things to read here, Connie.
Love Mr. Rogers. Part of my childhood.
But so, Connie and I, we just so many memories. Me and Michael and Jim have so many memories from traveling together and renting Airbnbs together, and just fellowship, and it's like a big fraternity almost.
Yeah, I can imagine. Final question that we've got before we let you go. We're having a little overtime here, and we appreciate that. What has lit the candle for Scotty Scheffler? I mean, anything that you can see that has gotten him into this sustained, elevated plateau of success? Well, why is he different than everybody else?
It's a mystery to me, because I would never teach his footwork and his balance. But he's absolutely perfect in his takeaway, his fundamentals, and backswing and at impact. But, after his impact, it's amazing how he falls off of it and looks like a 6 handicapper. But, the guys that are really, really good are the mentally toughest, and he is very mentally tough. He's very, very competitive. He doesn't look like, it appears to be calm, but he is super, super competitive. And I'll say this, I'll compare Tiger, Rory, Jack Nicklaus, all these guys. The ones, to me, Rory McIlroy physically has a whole higher another gear than anybody out there. He's at the Tiger level.
Right.
But I have spotted him probably 7 or 8 times, especially one year at the British Open. And I have witnessed up close conversations with his caddy that not many people could have heard. And he has, he's won a lot of tournaments. He's won the Grand Slam. He's one of the top 6 golfers of all time. He's won a Grand Slam. But to me, he's got a little weak link mentally. He lets the little bitty things bother him that a Tom Watson or a Jack Nicklaus or a Tiger. He's kind of, and Greg Norman had a little bit of that too, where he just lets the little bitty, the lie of the ball or coming to rest in a divot, he lets that bother him. And I'm sitting there going, man, you're so good, that's not going to bother you. But he really, really lets it bother him, and he lets it bother him for several holes. And you can tell by the pep in his step whether something's bothering him or not. It's so obvious.
That's a difference, right? I mean, up here.
It's Arnold Palmer, Bobby Jones, all them, they said it's between your ears, the 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches between your ears is where the game is. But they're all physically incredible. Even the guys that miss a bunch of cuts and finish in the bottom of the pack, if those guys showed up at Troy Country Club, you just would not imagine how good they are. I mean, I literally, most of some of my buddies that played on the PGA Tour says if you're not a +6, if you're a +2 or 3, you have no chance to qualify and play on the tour. If you're a +6, you may can get out there, but you better be a +7 or 8 to make a living out there. And it's true. I believe that. Tiger, they calculated Tiger's handicaps in his heydays, and he was a +9, 10, or 11. I mean, they're just that much better than people really think they are.
This is fascinating insight. Colin McCrary, a good friend for many years, and really, really interactive with the tour and up at Oakmont and everything. We're going to have to do this again. Next major, we're going to have to maybe get some insight from you again. This has been wonderful, and I appreciate the time.
All right. Glad to do it. Good to see you.
Always good to see you. It's Colin McCrary. He joins us to start out the show. He was at Oakmont working for NBC, a spotter. They got different groups. He gets different groups every day. He doesn't follow the same group for 4 straight days. He gets assigned a different one every day. And we were going through, who he had on Thursday, who he had on Friday. Of course, he had the group with Rory and Xander Schauffele on Saturday. And I just wanted to get him on because he's been at all those places and he's extraordinarily knowledgeable about the game of golf. We are late for a break. We're underway. Again, no Jason Caldwell today. He is traveling for work at auburnundercover.com. It's a busy time of year. Got a lot to get to. Rodney Orr, the Tiger Insider, at the top of the next hour. Glad you're along with us in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Spring into savings at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, America's best-selling truck, the F-150. You can get every new 2024 at 2.9% APR for 72 months. How about an F-150 Lightning up to $15,000 off plus 0% for 75 months? The ever-popular Ford Bronco Sport as low as $25,990. The Ford Explorer, it started the SUV craze. An all-wheel drive with leather as low as $33,990. That's up to $8,000 off. $15,000 off Ford Expeditions. And what about the Ford Mustang? Starting as low as $29,990. And the all-new Ford Mavericks starting as low as $23,990 and no payment for 90 days. And don't forget about Stivers Ford's mobile service. Get serviced at your home or work anywhere near the river region. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
On the basketball court, the soccer pitch, or even the golf course, your crew brings their best not just for the win, but for that post-game celebration. When victory tastes like Michelob Ultra, it's worth every drop of sweat. And if you don't win, you'll still get the beer. It's just on you. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra, 2.6 carbs, 95 calories. Superior Light Beer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Located just 8 miles north of Alabama's state capital, Capitol Hill features 3 18-hole championship courses. With more than 1,500 acres of golf and nature, the pure magnitude of this facility is amazing and allows each course to be drastically different from the others. Capitol Hill also features an innovative 360-degree driving range, 400 yards in diameter. Capitol Hill offers a fully stocked pro shop with the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill for tee times and more information.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. I was teasing a little bit, Colin. My home studio. Again, I live in Troy. Colin lives in Troy, but he travels all over the place. Colin built my house. I didn't buy it from him. There was another owner between him and me, but this is the house that Colin built, so to speak. Just a great guy, tremendous golfer, tremendous history. And I just think it's fascinating. His, he's been around at all the great courses, and he's, even, over the pond and everything. And he's got such great insight into what's actually going on out there. And he's done a lot of work. He was mentioning Connie, he and Connie, his wife, they, I think they drove 16 hours to get back after Sunday's round. And of course, JJ Spawn wins it. Gosh, we could talk with him for an hour about golf. A lot of things going on that we are going to touch upon. We had mentioned before, and we're kind of tracking it, although I don't know, not expecting a lot. We mentioned yesterday was the first day of the annual conference commissioners meeting for the 32 Division I athletic conferences. They're meeting in Asheville, North Carolina at the Biltmore House. Not much news coming out of that. I'll let you know if there is. Basically what they're talking about. They're passing along info about, their schools and their buy-in or not into the House settlement. Schools don't have to buy in. If you opt in to that settlement agreement, and it's a class action settlement involving, every school in the NCAA, but if you don't opt into that settlement, if you say, no, that judge doesn't speak for me, then you'll probably get kicked out of your conference. So they are talking a little bit about, hey, how many of your schools are in, how much are they in. They also need to do something about the transfer portal. They're going to talk a lot, or talking a lot about that. They also are spending a good bit of time talking about the college football playoff. The thing that, I don't know, is a waste of time for some people. Say you're the commissioner of let me think of one. Of the Mid-Atlantic or the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, or the Horizon League or something. You ain't got a thing to do with the conversation about a college football playoff. You're not going to get any money out of that. You're not going to be in it. You are, nobody could give two toots about your input into it or anything like that. You just, I don't know if they send you out to the kiddie table, the Fisher Price table with the little, grilled cheese sandwiches and stuff while the big boys talk or anything. I don't want to, I don't believe that that's how they really think, but that's the way it seems. But there's going on right there. Maybe there'll be something about it. I think another thing that they're talking about, and this is something that Terrence has brought up. He says, I see these equity groups being involved with a minimum of 25 Big Four programs by July 1st, 2030. I guarantee you they're talking about that, Terrence, and that's pretty smart that you're bringing that up. There are there have been reports that have been denied that UCLA and Penn State have entered into agreements with equity firms, investment firms to influx some cash into their athletic department. They are, UCLA and Penn State have denied that that's happened. But I think Terrence is right. There's a lot of schools that are trying to figure out, man, how am I going to come up with $20.5 million this year and maybe $22.5 million next year, and in 10 years, $33 million or so? Well, it's like anything else in business. If you can get investors, it certainly does help you. Now, how that works in terms of rate of return, dividends, I don't know, but I would be surprised if schools are not entertaining that, and I would be absolutely shocked if they're not discussing that at this meeting. Also, in college sports, the Men's College World Series yesterday was the last semifinal. It was LSU and Arkansas. Earlier in the day, Coastal Carolina beat the dog snot out of Louisville, 11-3. Coastal Carolina moves into the College World Series finals for the second time. They've been in the College World Series twice, and they've made it to the finals both times, which is hard to do. Coastal, I put this out on Twitter. Coastal, I saw them with my own two eyes. Troy won the series against Coastal Carolina. Beat the Chants 2 out of 3 in Troy way back when. I guess it was in March in Troy. Lost the first game, won the next 2. I did the television on the Sunday game that clinched a series for Troy. Troy didn't lose a series all year until the very final one of the regular year. They were the last one to lose a series. And I thought, I was very excited about Troy. But I thought, man, this Coastal team, they had a couple of injuries. Then again, so did Troy. I thought, man, this team doesn't have much wrong with it. The two catchers, Brooks Bryan from Troy and Caleb Bodine from Coastal Carolina, may have been the two best collegiate catchers I've seen, particularly since Ike Irish got moved to the outfield. But he just had a look to them, And Troy was successful in that series, but I didn't see much wrong with Coastal Carolina. And, they lost another game after that. And then they lost to College of Charleston in mid-March. And they haven't lost since. Well, in April. And they haven't lost since. They ran through May. They haven't lost yet. I think the win streak's now 26 in a row. And they take on an LSU team that's won 9 championships. The win yesterday in the second game, if Arkansas had won it, they'd be playing today. And if LSU had won it, they'd go straight to the College World Series finals, which is what happened. But it was a tight game. Arkansas scored 2 runs in the top of the 9th inning. Pivotal miscue by the first baseman allowed the go-ahead run to score. And Arkansas took a 2-run lead into the bottom of the 9th inning. And they just made some terrible mental mistakes. The shortstop, who's the player of the year in the SEC, had a chance for a double play to end the game. Instead, he threw to third to get 1 out. And the left fielder misplayed a ball off of his shoulder. That allowed 2 runs to score, tied the game up. And then LSU won it with a base hit off of the second baseman's glove. And LSU wins. Arkansas season is over. LSU will take on Coastal Carolina in the final 2, the championship series. It begins Saturday night at 6 o'clock. They'll play on Sunday at 1:30. And if it's split in those first 2 games, they'll play Monday night for the championship. That is, if necessary. Love the College World Series. I love the pageantry of college football. Don't get me wrong. 90,000 fans adds a lot to the ambiance. The place, the Charles Schwab Field, seats about 20-something thousand, and it's packed. I'm not saying those fans who follow baseball and support their school in baseball are better fans than those of you who just are interested in football, or those who are just interested in football and basketball. But I do think they have a better time. I mean, it's a sport where, you don't have every the outcome of the game hanging on every pitch. You've got to build towards it. And so you get a chance to, visit with your buddies and, make a few chants and all that kind of stuff. But in football, it's a little bit of a different tone, a different pace of the game. And I love that part about baseball. Now, there are way too many stoppages in baseball, even still with appeals and, pitching changes and mound visits and all that kind of stuff. That got to be the last two innings. Felt like it took an hour and a half last night, but I was psyched about it. Really loved that. Now, tonight, again, no College World Series games tonight or tomorrow night. Tonight, the viewing will be, of course, Braves and the Mets, 6:15 tonight. See how Spencer Strider does. The Braves, with the win yesterday, Chris Sale shuts out the Mets, who all of a sudden have lost 5 games in a row, against the Braves, who have won the first 2 games of the series, but still are 11 games back. They're 6 games over 500 at home, but they're 12 games under 500 on the road. The end of the college baseball season means the end of the competitive athletic season for the 2024-2025 year. Coming up on Monday, we'll visit with Andy Burcham, the voice of the Auburn Tigers, who does football, men's basketball, and baseball broadcasts, about the year that Auburn had. And, not great in football, 5-7. Final 4 in basketball is their second. Hosted a super regional in baseball for the first time ever, but no championships. And just his ideas about that. A little bit later on, and probably about 25 minutes, we'll talk with Rodney Orr, the Tiger insider, about big recruiting weekend in Tuscaloosa, the flip of a 4 or 5-star quarterback from Iowa State, and a whole lot more. We got a lot to get to. Again, no Jason Caldwell in this segment. Was one of the reasons why we have Andy on Monday to talk a little Auburn. He's out of town the rest of this week. But we've got a lot more to get to. Keep it coming on our River Region Straw Chat line, presented by River Region Straw. Call or text Kenny at 669-5959. That's 669-5959. A lot of good questions up there. Bill from Baltimore brings up a good point. Sorry, Bill, I didn't catch it when I was talking with Colin McCrary. Top 5 courses he's worked of them. Some of them just have such a surreal vibe being there. I know he's worked Carnoustie, what do you say, Royal St. George, another British Open that he's worked. That would be surreal to me just because it's so different from an American course. I've kidded around with John that they look just like cow pastures out there. They'll put some gorse and some heather here and there, no trees at all. A green here, a sand trap there, and that's it. They'll play golf. It doesn't look all that scenic to me, except looking at like the castles in the background at Royal Troon and some of those things. But we'll get Colin on again to talk a little golf when we get close to another major and visit with that. Bill also says Barry has broadcasted a lot, but have I ever done golf? I have. I've never done it on television. I've actually done a significant amount of golf on the radio, and of course with my work at Troy, I've interviewed all the golf coaches, tons of the players. So it helps that I know the game, but broadcasting golf on the radio is difficult. The state amateurs, nothing big. I've covered a good bit of golf. Like Chris Stewart said yesterday, he and I met many, many, many years ago and formed our friendship at the PGA Tour event at Shoal Creek in 1990. And I've covered the LPGA Tour stop when they had the event. One of the times they've had the events on the LPGA Tour at Capitol Hill and at Grand National over in Opelika. Love golf. I don't have time to play it. I don't have time to play it well, that's for sure. But I do enjoy watching it. the only thing that's kind of a disconnect is all this mystical jazz when you're talking about the Masters, and I don't love the courses overseas, and I'd have to have I would much rather follow a golfer than just watch a hole, which is what I did whenever I was covering those LPGA events. Following the golfers, again, watching how they build their round or how their round gets away from them, getting some context to how they're playing, and just, hey, who's coming up here? Oh, look, it's Say Pak. Wonder how she's doing. Oh, she's 3 under right now. And, I like the way it builds up anyway. So lots of good stuff. We'll take a break. More to come in just a moment. Glad you're along with us here, whether you're watching on our YouTube channel, Longshore and McKnight, whether you're watching us on Yellowhammer News, on their Facebook page, or at yellowhammernews.com, listening on Spotify, however you consume it. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe for all the late-breaking news and details, and follow us on all of our social media accounts at Longshore and McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Located just 8 miles north of Alabama's state capital, Capitol Hill features 3 18-hole championship courses. With more than 1,500 acres of golf and nature, the pure magnitude of this facility is amazing and allows each course to be drastically different from the others. Capitol Hill also features an innovative 360-degree driving range, 400 yards in diameter. Capitol Hill offers a fully stocked pro shop with the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill for tee times and more information.
The Bush Guide, cold and smooth survival skills. For a successful stint in the great outdoors, pack accordingly. Place heavy essentials near your spine for stability in rough terrain, with light items near the bottom. Now, you may be wondering, where does the Bush Light go? In your stomach. Bush. Head for the mountains. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2023, Anheuser-Busch, Bush Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
You're not buying sticks, stems, and pine cones. You're buying premium long-diddle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River region, full of color that will last all season long. Kenny has locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small, from a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load. Pickup is available, or your order can be delivered. They can even spread your pine straw if you like. So call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw needs.
It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. I'm Barry McKnight. Great to have you here with us. We can get the logo off and get going. John talked about this a lot. I mean, John is a future schedules guy that mostly it's football. And the SEC basketball schedules came out. I have never been a schedule guy. Again, if we can get the logo off, that would be helpful. But I am not a schedule guy. Just show me who we're playing. Show me what where I'm going next, and I'm a happy man. But the basketball schedules are out for the SEC. The opponents are announced. The conference schedule, Arkansas now a home-and-home opponent, replacing Georgia on the Auburn schedule. That means under the league's new scheduling model, Alabama and Ole Miss will be Auburn's permanent home games. The Alabama thing's not a surprise. Ole Miss, I kind of like it, although Ole Miss under Chris Beard has been really good. This is a little bit off-putting here. I am actually back here. You can see me, but we'll try and get Gurn Jr. to pull that logo off of the screen. But Ole Miss, I saw Ole Miss in the NCAA tournament with my own eyes up in Milwaukee. They played North Carolina, and I'm telling you, they are good. So the two home and aways for three home and aways for Auburn this year are Alabama and Ole Miss, which are the permanent home and aways, and then Arkansas. Auburn will host Kentucky. They don't have to go to Rupp. They'll host LSU, host South Carolina, host Texas and Texas A&M, and they'll host Vanderbilt, which is good news for the Gurn Juniors out there. Auburn will have to go to Florida. They'll without a return trip, which is kind of a shame because they had such a good game in the Final Four, and Florida is now the defending national champion. They have to go to Georgia, have to go to Mississippi State, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. This is interesting because, Gurn says I'm on the screen, but I've got the logo blocking me from where I am right now. I'm going to have to reset in just a moment. We'll go over the Alabama schedule and what's happening there. But let's take a break right here and come back and reset. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
It doesn't matter if you're running drills at the park, playing pickup on a Saturday, or sinking the final putt. When you compete with your friends with Michelob Ultra on the line, competition isn't that friendly. The trash talk, next level, and the stakes, those are crystal clear. With only 95 calories and superior smooth taste, it's the ultimate trophy. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra, superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Known by avid golfers as one of the most beautiful and challenging stops on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, Cambrian Ridge in Greenville lies just 40 miles from Montgomery. It is well worth the ride for any golfer looking for 27 holes of jaw-dropping golf. The greens have been redesigned to accommodate the higher green speeds associated with their installation of the latest generation of Ultra Dwarf Bermuda grass. Cambrian Ridge offers a fully stocked pro shop with all the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge for tee times and more information.
Oh, you got to love the live aspect of what we do. I mean, I love it. live radio, live TV, live streaming. Now I can see. It was strange, we have the Bud Light commercial, with the logo there, and the logo never left. So I it's difficult being able to do it, and everybody's texting me saying, "Hey, I can see you. I can see you." So my apologies there. That's live broadcasting for you, and if you're watching this on the loop later on in the day, that's my bad. I'll own that. I just you never know what's going to happen. We're at New York coming up at the top of the hour. Barry McKnight here. John will be back on Monday. Tomorrow I'm live at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram with again special guests and all of that. So we're talking about the basketball schedule, although I got to tell you, my heart ain't in it, really. I don't just I guess it's because of the volume of what I do that I have to compartmentalize my schedule. If I sit there and I look at, say, the Troy basketball schedule, especially when it overlaps with the football schedule, I'll be overwhelmed, Whew. So, I mean, I go basically a little bit more than week to week. So, just so it doesn't overwhelm me. So, hey, where am I going next week? Oh, I'm going to Virginia, or I'm going to Ohio, or whatever. It helps to know ahead of time, of course, but geez, it's just, I never have gotten involved with this. We mentioned Auburn. Their two rotating home games are Alabama and Ole Miss. The two permanent rotating. They play them home and away every year, it looks like. And then Arkansas this year replaces Georgia for home and away. Alabama's home and away games, of course, Auburn. They play Mississippi State home and away, which is almost like cheating, I mean, they're only 60 miles away. You can bus over there. And Alabama has Tennessee home and away. That's pretty tough for Alabama, to have to play Auburn twice, have to play Tennessee twice. And let me tell you, Tennessee, even with some of their losses and all of that off their roster, Tennessee is still all that. Alabama at Coleman Coliseum will have Arkansas in, Kentucky in. Alabama doesn't have to go to Lexington, by the way. They got Missouri in, South Carolina, plus Texas and Texas A&M. They're all coming to Coleman Coliseum without a return trip. The SEC was so incredibly good this past year. Their KenPom rating was plus 22. Nobody's ever even come close to that, and they had 14 NCAA tournament teams last year. Half of those went to the Sweet 16. So whoever you got in the league, it's going to be tough. Alabama has to go to Florida. Auburn has to go to Florida. Florida does not, the defending national champions, does not have to come to Tuscaloosa or Auburn. Alabama goes to Georgia, goes to LSU, goes to Ole Miss, goes to Oklahoma, and goes to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt makes a trip to Auburn, but they don't make a trip to Tuscaloosa. For the members of the Butler County Commodore Club, that's probably a little bit disappointing. So Alabama's away schedule, a little bit more manageable. I mean, they got Florida on the road without a home trip. That's tough. But, I mean, you're looking at Oklahoma, you're looking at Georgia, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's going to be really good this year, by the way. It's not easy, but it's manageable for the Crimson Tide. Again, I don't love to get into the schedule that much. It just let me know who we're playing. I never have gotten into strength of schedule and all that. I mean, you play who you play. John absolutely loves it. Hey, what do we got here? What's coming up? Oh, who do they have in the future? There is a website out there that I use. It's called FBSschedules.com. And I mean, it's got everything you need. That's where I get all of my helmet schedules. That's where I get all of the latest news on scheduling, future schedules. You can look right now at fbsschedules.com, and with just a click or two, you can find out that, hey, Auburn will host Jacksonville State on September 26th, 2026. Auburn's got Missouri State as their only non-conference game scheduled in 2027. And you can find all that stuff out. When John and I talk future schedules, that's what I use. Big shout out, FBS Schedules. No, it's not FB. It's FB Schedules. There's not an extra S. It's fbschedules.com. And just looking at it, from 2027 on, Auburn, at the moment, has 4 non-conference games scheduled. Missouri State, I think they're the Bears, they're coming in 2027. North Alabama comes in September 9th of 2028. And then home and away against Miami, at Miami in 2029, home against Miami in 2030. That's it. After next season, not this coming season, but next, Auburn's got 4 games scheduled. 4. And 2 of them are Miami. Talking football. That is strange. Just as a point of comparison, Alabama, after 2026, not this year, but after next year, this is already scheduled for Alabama. Ohio State, home and away. Notre Dame, that's on the schedule, home and away. Minnesota, home and away. Arizona, home and away. Virginia Tech, home and away. Oklahoma State, home and away. What else? Boston College, home and away. Auburn's got 4 games scheduled after 2026 in non-conference. Alabama's got 2, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. They got 17. Auburn's got 4. Alabama is scheduled games out they got 18, into 2035. So I wonder how that happens. I wonder why that happens. I guess when conference realignment hits or whatever, and I do think there's another round of it coming, Auburn's going to be buying. They'll be in a position. They've got openings. Maybe that's why they're doing what they're doing. Daniel brings up a good point. He says, wait a minute. Auburn loses Georgia for Arkansas in the home and away, rotating in basketball. Auburn-Georgia is an actual rivalry. Who even cares about an Auburn-Arkansas series? It's a point well taken, Daniel, but you got to play somebody. I mean, personally, if it was me, I would be lobbying the SEC to make Alabama and Georgia my permanent rotators, my permanent home and away, instead of, Alabama, Ole Miss. Don't love Georgia's arena. It's the worst in the SEC. But, I mean, you're right. That is a rivalry. That's one that you can sink your teeth into. Also, again, in the world of sports, we're kind of tracking a few things here and there. We mentioned what's going on in Asheville, North Carolina, with the NCAA Division I conference commissioners. And again, good for you if you knew that there are 32 Division I conferences in the country. And you're really thinking about it. You've got 32 automatic qualifiers in the field of 64 in basketball, right? I mean, you probably would never be able to guess a single team in the Missouri Valley Conference, right? Only reason why I can name one, and I follow it a lot, is because Murray State is in, and Murray State had that run into the Super Regionals and into the College World Series out of the Missouri Valley Conference. Ohio Valley Conference, Atlantic Sun, Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, Horizon League. I don't know. Those are the ones who are helping to formulate policy, and those are the ones that Greg Sankey of the SEC and Tony Petitti of the Big Ten wish would just go away and just, we'll tell you what's going on. We'll tell you how many scholarships you can have, or even better yet, let's just forget about you and let's just have our own big boy conference so we don't have to listen to what the conference commissioner or the MAC has to say, or what the guy from the Big Sky thinks, or anything like that. It'd streamline the whole process. I'm not for it. I still believe in the student athlete model, and I still believe that the starting quarterback at Weber State has every bit as much value in our collegiate system as a starting quarterback at Ohio State. Just because the television networks aren't necessarily interested in them does not diminish their value. It's like Doctor Who said one time, I've been around 800 years and all over the galaxies, and I've never yet met a human being who's not important. These people work hard and study and sacrifice and all that, and I do think they deserve a seat at the table. Coming up in just a moment, Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, will join us. Things to watch out for today, of course, NBA Finals. Coming up tonight, this time tomorrow when I'm live out at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville, will we be singing the praises of NBA champion Oklahoma City? They play tonight. It's game 6. It's in Indiana. Not sure whether Tyrese Halliburton's going to play for the Pacers, but he's going to do everything he can. If the Pacers win game 6, this is what's weird because they would not play again until Monday. The weekend is, the way I understand it, the way the schedule looks, the weekend does not include an NBA Finals game, but it may not even matter. It may be a moot point. Joining us now is Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, as a part of the program. Again, John is out all week. Rodney, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Barry, I appreciate it. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really well. Glad to hear from you. And we'll start off with something we've kind of been telling our viewers and listeners for 2 days now. Can't wait to talk with you about this. The dead period starts Monday, but, the scuttlebutt that I'm hearing from, a lot of the SEC schools is really most of the official visits part of the recruiting period. The big official visits are done, right? There's nothing huge this weekend in terms of official visits in Alabama, or not?
Yeah, Alabama has about 15 coming in, I think.
Oh, okay.
But it's after this weekend. You're right about that, where things calm down for a little bit. You mentioned the dead period. So it will, of course, in late July, things open back up if you want more visitors to come in. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big weekend, actually, with some of their players. Obviously, Jet Tamala, the quarterback who just committed, who I'm sure you may want to talk about, but he'll be in. Now, one interesting thing, Barry, is that there may be another quarterback. He's been scheduled, that he's expected in. I always say this, though. These things are subject to change, And so, but Caden Kawa out of Orem, Utah, it's a really good-looking player, really good-looking quarterback who had been previously offered by Alabama. And he's supposed to come in on an official as well. So those are two of the highlight visitors. But then again, you've got guys like Cedarian Morgan, a 5-star wide receiver, who's one of the top targets. E.J. Crowell, the 5-star running back out of Jackson, Alabama, who obviously another top target. So and Max Suter is a tight end out of Dunlap, Pennsylvania, who is, Dunlap, Illinois, who is a really outstanding player that I think is a prime target as well. So it's a pretty important group coming in.
Let me ask you about a couple of guys, and I'm asking from a position of absolute ignorance here. Just because this name kind of jumps out at me, wide receiver named Booby Feaster.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, Rodney. I like the name. What do
You
we know
like that
about him?
name? Yeah, Ethan Booby Feaster. He's from DeSoto, Texas. It's one of the
Yep.
premier programs out there in Texas. They produce a lot of really good players, and they have through the years. Booby's he's kind of a Ryan Williams, and what I mean by that is he's like Ryan. He reclassified. He's
Oh, okay.
reclassifying. So when he gets to wherever he's going, we're probably going to have to say, hear this. He's only 17 years old. I mean, kind of like Ryan. That's all we heard about him last year as a freshman. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's obviously Alabama's very much in the mix there. Texas A&M is one that I would really watch. USC has been in there. LSU has been in there. These are all teams that are pushing for him, and Booby's one of the top receivers in the country. There's no doubt about that. He did visit Alabama the
Mhm.
very first weekend in June.
What about a linebacker named Nick Abrams? Can you give us a little bit
Yeah,
more insight
Nick.
into him?
Yeah, Nick was here this last
Right.
weekend. He is out of Owings Mills, Maryland, and really, to be honest with you, Barry, I thought coming into the visit last week that Georgia and Michigan had kind of the inside track. And the question was, could Alabama do enough last weekend to kind of put themselves in a position to maybe compete with those two, if you
Mhm.
want to put it that way? And I think they did. I mean, we talked to Nick and he said, all the right things. He's a really intelligent kid. And he seems to be genuine. So he said all the right things. And but right now, again, I'm not saying that Alabama won't get him, but I would say this, Barry, Georgia and Michigan have been in there really strong.
With all of this day and age of so much technology in recruiting, with the the databases that you can show players, this is our strength and conditioning. This is the digital readouts on how much you can improve and all of this kind of stuff. There's so much technology and all of that. If I was Alabama and I was recruiting a high school linebacker, Rodney, I'd go old school. I'd sit one of those incoming prospective linebackers down and I would just hand him a scrapbook. Hey, you see this guy? You see this guy? This guy's name's
Yeah.
Dante Hightower. You see that
Yeah.
guy right here? And flip the page. This is D'Amico Ryans. He's now a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
some of the other ones. This is down the line a little bit. This is Mac Wilson. This is Salim Rashid. These guys always. You really
This
don't have
is
to do much more
Cornelius
than that,
Bennett.
right?
Hey, let's go back a ways. This is Cornelius Bennett. This is, Keith McCants. This
Woodrow
is
Lowe.
Derek Thomas, Woodrow Lowe, Leroy Jordan, if you want to keep going. I mean, yeah, the tradition is there at the position, obviously. But I know that they use a lot of that to an extent. Probably stick to more of the more recent guys because that's where people relate.
Right.
Young kids relate. And so anyway, it does make me think of a story though, Barry, just real quick. As
Mhm.
you say that, I got to kind of giggle. When Alabama was recruiting T. Martin back in the day out of Mobile.
Mhm.
Of course, he went to
Mhm.
Tennessee and won a national championship as a quarterback, but he was from Mobile. And I just remember him saying that when Alabama recruited him, that they tried to sell him on Joe Namath. And he was like, "Who's Joe Namath?" He was the guy his career was over before I was born. So, I mean, yeah. So it's generally I think you have a lot more success kind of touting your more recent history.
We had visited with you. I guess it's been about 2 weeks ago on one of your visits in late May, I believe, when you were telling us, and this is one of the things I've learned through years of visiting with Rodney Horror. When he tells you, keep your eye on this, to keep your eye on this. You were telling us about Jet Tamala, 2-3 weeks ago, as somebody to keep your eye on. You thought, A, that he was a really good quarterback, and that B, Alabama was still in there battling even despite a commitment to Iowa State.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, they obviously, they identified him after, he'd kind of got the ball rolling with some other schools, back in the early spring or even maybe slightly before. And Nick Sheridan went out there, the Alabama now he is the quarterback's coach. And Nick Sheridan went out there and started building a relationship with him, and then they eventually offered him. And of course, now this flip, and he is at the Elite 11 right now, participating. I think there are 20 quarterbacks out there participating. To win this Elite 11 competition. Which, look, Barry, let's be honest. And again, I know there's a lot of great things you can learn from the Elite 11, so I'm not criticizing it or being critical of it, but it's not real football. You and I know that. And people sometimes try to hype this thing up. There's been a lot of Elite 11 winners that weren't very good college quarterbacks when it came down to it. There's been a lot of guys that didn't even get into the Elite 11 that have been sensational. So yes, it has some value, but at the same time, just a quick warning to keep that into perspective.
And that is a good warning because, you got a lot of people that look great in drills. You've got some drills All-Americans out there.
Yeah.
But you got to have a little moxie when you got that rush end bearing down on you from the blind side, and you can feel them, and you got to make a decision quick when the action's going on. I think that's a very good point, Rod.
And a lot of people say this about Jet Tamala. A lot of the critics can be, but they say, hey, look, Nebraska high school football isn't Alabama high school football. It's not Georgia. It's just certainly not Texas, in terms of the competition. But I think when you look at the tools, that's what he's close to six.
Right.
He's probably 6'4". He's got all those tools that they look for. Very strong arm. So, I think it's a really big pickup for Alabama in this class coming off the, because let's just be honest, Barry. As you look at the portal, you look at things that could happen. Alabama has 3 quarterbacks on scholarship right now. There's a chance. This is just the reality of it. There's a chance that maybe only one of those guys is left standing a year from now.
Sure.
Because so you've got to at least sign one. Don't be surprised if they sign 2 in this class.
I can understand that from Alabama's perspective to keep signing those high profile guys. It does speak to me a little bit on Jet Tamala's case of his confidence in himself. He says, all I want is a chance. I don't care how many 5-stars they've had on campus and who they've got in the quarterback room right now. I believe in myself enough to know that I can go to that school, that national championship program school, and I can compete with those guys.
That's a great point. And it's also taking on the challenge of, competing at the highest level, which is the SEC. Yeah. And this is not a knock on Iowa State at all, or the Big 12 or whatever conference they're in now. That they've produced. Matt Campbell has done a fantastic job up there, but quarterbacks, evaluating quarterbacks. He's done Brock Purdy. That was a guy Alabama recruited to some extent back in the day, and had a great career. And you see him in San Francisco. So I'm just saying that it is interesting, that the way this whole thing unfolded with Jet Tamala.
Rodney Orr is visiting with us, as you see on the scroll on the bottom of the screen, brought to you by the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road in Montgomery. For all of your summer parties, especially coming up 4th of July, a couple of weeks from now, let David and the staff at the Destin Connection supply your seafood fresh from the Gulf, all different kinds. They can also steam it for you. John loves the po' boys at Destin Connection Seafood. Just call ahead, 288-4272. That's 288-4272, the Destin Connection Seafood Market on Norman Bridge Road in Montgomery. They bring you the Tiger Insider, Rodney Orr. One more thought about quarterbacks. I didn't hear the interview, but I do know Ryan Fowler, one of our compatriots on the Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. You heard an interview that Ryan had with the offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, and you wrote about it. Just a couple of thoughts, not specifically restating the interview word for word, but kind of just adding on to what Coach Grubb was telling Ryan Fowler, particularly about his belief that, hey, when it all comes down to it, he's a believer in Austin Mack in that quarterback room as well.
Yeah. You know, Barry, and we talked about this after A-Day, you know, on the segment after A-Day, and I said that, and in fact, I even wrote a little piece about this on Tiger Insider, that, you know, obviously Ty Simpson has the inside track. So I'm not getting into the who's where in the pecking order, but what I said was, you know, he didn't make all the right decisions in A-Day. I mean, obviously he had some throws he would like to probably have had back. But at the same time, I thought he was very impressive in some of the things I saw from him. First of all, he's 6'6" at least, and he moves okay. He moves around okay, and he's got a laser for an arm. I mean, he does. But it is like you said, you don't really know how these guys are going to respond, you know, in a game situation. The guys, he's got no experience really. But I will say this. I really like what I saw of him throwing the football. I think he does have a ton of potential.
I've got one other personnel thing I want to run by you here, and it's coming a little bit more often. As a matter of fact, this thing came about a week ago where Pro Football Focus, I know a lot of the coaches and a lot of the scouts, the advanced scouts around college football pay a lot of attention to Pro Football Focus. It was last week that some of their preseason rankings came out. Pro Football Focus, PFF, ranked Alabama's offensive line number 1 in the country, ranked its defensive line number 2 in college football. I bring this up to Rodney because Rodney's like John, and he believes that, man, whatever else you got, it better start on the line of scrimmage. Do you think that's justified?
Well, I don't know about those rankings, Barry. I tell you, those are tricky. I think Alabama potentially has a really good offensive line when you've got Caden Proctor back. You know, the thing with him is consistency, just week in and week out, play to play. He can dominate, but you can't take off plays. And then I think it's going to be interesting to see Cam Dewberry at left guard. He comes with a lot of experience from Texas A&M, a lot of SEC experience. I think he could fill a real hole there. I mean, he could be the guy that makes this offensive line kind of a finished product, potentially, and be really good. Parker Brailsford's probably the best center in the country. Jaden Roberts at right guard is going into his 3rd year as a starter, a lot of experience. And I think Wilkin Formby has a ton of potential there at right tackle. I know he had some moments last year that were up and down, which would be expected, from a young redshirt freshman, and the guy that, frankly, he did not play in a high school system that he got a lot of development. So, I mean, he was still just so raw. But I think, when you look at Wilkin, his work ethic, his size, his strength, and all of those things, he has a lot of the qualities. So I think, yes, on the offensive line, they have the potential to be really, really good. I don't know what everybody else has got around the country, but I think it's a little premature to name them number 1. And the defensive line, I think those first 3, James Smith from right there in Montgomery, Tim Keenan, and LT Overton, they're really good. The question is, how are those young guys developing? Edric Hill, Jeremiah Beeman, Stephen Boa, Jordan Renaud outside, Keon Keeley outside, Kelby Collins, a transfer from Florida. Those are all guys that are talented, but I think that's a question mark on the defensive line. I would say, number 2 defensive line, potentially, I could see it, but they're tricky. That's tricky.
Yeah, especially, and you make a good point in that, as far as ranking against everybody else, nobody's seen everybody else. Nobody knows what everybody else
there's been so many guys in the transfer portal, Barry. I mean, think about that. Yeah. I mean, Texas went and got a bunch of defensive linemen in the transfer portal, and so I mean, you really don't know. You say the same thing on the offensive line, so it's just really tricky.
Yes, good stuff as always. Great insight. final week of the recruiting period before dead period begins. Possibly a lot of activity positively for the Crimson Tide this coming weekend. Lots of other stuff as well, opinions and analysis at TiderInsider.com. How do people subscribe, Rodney?
Right. Well, appreciate it, Barry. It's TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. You can get instant access with your credit card, or if you prefer, there is an address there to send a check. And that gives you all our premium information, but also that includes our all sports forum, which our community of Alabama fans are there. We've got a great community. Let me tell you, I know it's been slow for just about everybody. I mean, it's just kind of that summer period, but Barry, it really starts to pick up, as you know, come the August camp. So it's about to get rolling before too long.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait. Rodney, as always, thanks so much for the time. Look forward to the next visit.
Okay, Barry, I do appreciate it. Take care.
Take care. Rodney Orr, Tider Insider, appears courtesy of the Destin Connection Seafood Market. David and the staff at Destin Connection, 3750 Norman Bridge Road in Montgomery, dedicated to bringing you the freshest seafood from the Gulf and getting it to you. Most of the fine restaurants that offer seafood in Central Alabama, they know. Ask them. Destin Connection Seafood Market supplies theirs. Why not let them supply yours as well? Just call ahead. David and the staff ready to hear from you. 288-4272. Again, John's a big fan of the grouper po' boy. I've had the shrimp po' boy there before. I've done a lot of business with Destin Connection Seafood Market. And if you're like me, and you're in town working in Montgomery, we got a special event or something like that, if you call ahead and say, hey, can you set me up with I don't know, we love the catfish, or the mahi-mahi or something like that. The grouper is this snapper is always fresh. We've called before, and we've gone by before, and we've seen triggerfish that have been fresh, kind of an exotic fish, and they've got them. Just call ahead and they can have it waiting for you. 288-4272 at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, proud sponsors of Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider. Coming up about 10 minutes from now, it's the fabled Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 Topic Wheel. We've got a lot to get to still. John's on vacation. He'll be back on Monday. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, Pepper Tree Center next to Chappie's Deli in Montgomery, Alabama. Marianne is with us from Marguerite's. Marianne, here we are in the middle of summer. I know a lot of people like to spend summertime kind of cleaning things out and getting things out of their house. Marguerite's is a perfect place for those people who want to sell their jewelry or at least, maybe their silver or their platinum or something like that. You guys can take care of that at Marguerite's. Am I right?
Most definitely. You can get a little extra vacation cash or just a little fun money to go along, because the cost of gold is up now, like record highs. So take advantage of that. Come into Marguerite's, and if you're not sure if it is gold, platinum, or silver or not, just come in. We are happy to look at it. There's no charge. There's no obligation. Just bring in your precious metals, and we can tell you, we test it and let you know. We weigh it. We give you an amount. So, I mean, again, like broken chains or random like cluster ring that you're not the biggest fan of, just bring it in. We'll take it and give you a value. And we give you times and a half if you decide to use it as in-store credit. So if you find something pretty while we're weighing or testing your jewelry, then guess what? You've got way more going towards it than you had before.
I can imagine that some people kind of put that type of thing off or are a little bit intimidated because they don't really know what to do. They don't have a friend in the jewelry business. And I've always said at Marguerite, you always have a friend in the jewelry business. The process is painless, and you're ensured that you're going to get the top dollar for the value of your piece, right?
Most definitely. We update our market and metal values daily. We will weigh it 100% honest. There's no appointment needed. That's a question that I get asked a lot too. So you don't have to call ahead. You don't have to make an appointment. We're open 7 days a week in Pepper Tree. You just have to come through the door, and there'll always be somebody with a smile to help you sort your jewelry and get the amount that you're due.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun later on that when you've gone through that process and you smile at yourself when you're at the beach or you're on vacation somewhere with that extra cash and say, boy, I'm glad I left that up to the professionals at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. What's their first step, Marianne? Just walk through?
Exactly. Just walk through the door. Bring your stuff. Again, if you're not sure if it's costume, no worries. We'll take it from there.
Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. You've got a friend in the jewelry business. Pepper Tree Center next to Chappie's Deli on Vaughn Road in Montgomery, Alabama. Marianne, always a pleasure. Thanks for the time.
Thanks.
Back again on the show, 25 minutes into our second live hour. If you're watching us on loop, we've got about 35 minutes left in the program. Tomorrow, again, we will be at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, previewing the weekend, previewing the College World Series, reviewing maybe another Braves win. They play tonight against the Mets. 6-15. They've already won this series. The Mets are in kind of a free fall. They've lost 5 games in a row. Previewing the College World Series, maybe reviewing the NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. The ratings have been pretty good for that, considering the two markets are Indianapolis, Indiana, and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So there is plenty to talk about tomorrow. We'll visit with Jason Jones, lately of the Trojans Together Collective at Troy, which is moving aside in favor of the House settlement, where there will still be NIL, but schools like Troy, well, schools in Division I that opt into the House settlement all over the country will be able to pay players directly. That begins in a little bit less than 2 weeks. And yet again, you'll still have NIL, just, you have to have it approved through the clearinghouse. You can't, and it's not like if it works right, it's not going to be like it has been where you can just give a player $3 million and he can come to your school. You have to be able to prove fair market value. 2 visits to the chicken finger place next to campus, that'll get me $600. That sounds like fair market value. That'll get me $600,000. No, they're going to kick that aside. So we'll get a little bit more clarification on all that from Jason Jones, who has been elbow deep in the NIL space, as the young people say, but also maybe get a little bit of a look ahead from him on exactly what in the world is going on. So is there a little saltiness about the fact that Coastal Carolina has won 26 games in a row and is in the College World Series finals, which start on Saturday, out of the Sun Belt Conference, given the fact that Troy was the only team in the nation to beat Coastal Carolina in a series? Coastal came into Troy in March, and Troy won 2 out of 3 against this same Coastal Carolina team. And Coastal's great. I am fully 100% invested in rooting on Coastal Carolina and the Sun Belt Conference to the championship. Never have been an LSU fan. Probably shouldn't have worn this purple shirt, but it was next up in my closet. But a little bit salty about them getting in? Not at all. I think it proves as much as anything that Troy baseball deserved to be in the NCAA tournament. Why it is not is still a source of absolute anything. Is still, it's just a source of wonder to me that they're not in, because Coastal, you don't need me to tell you, they've been beating the heck out of people. They've won 26 in a row, but with a couple of exceptions, they've just been blowing people out of the water. They beat Louisville yesterday, and Louisville's a Power 4 program. They've had a great year. Coastal Carolina kept scoring. They win by heat. They are outstanding. But so was Troy. I get it. They won the title. They won the regular season title. They won the conference title in Montgomery. By all means, it's not like they don't deserve to be in, and they don't deserve every bit of the accolades that they're getting right now. They do. I'm a big believer in Coastal Carolina. But yeah, if you follow me on social media, you'll see the scores of those games. They played 27 innings against the Trojans and only won 1 out of the 3 games. I'm just saying. By the way, I didn't have a chance to ask Rodney this because literally this news came down right at the end of our interview, but CJ Mosley is retiring from the NFL. That announcement was made. 10 years in the NFL, which means he gets a pretty doggone good pension, and he had a great year. 11 years in the NFL, 5 times in the Pro Bowl, Ravens, lately with the Jets. So CJ's all right. And like I told Rodney, if I'm a high school linebacker and I'm visiting the Tide, if I'm Alabama, I'm not focusing on putting his name and his graphic and superimposing an Alabama jersey on him on the big jumbo boards, the big video boards. I'm not worried about that. I'm just sitting him down, maybe in one of the seats at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and I'm pulling out this big old scrapbook, and I'm saying, here, take a look. See that guy? That guy's C.J. Mosley. 11 years in the NFL, 1,000 tackles, 5-time Pro Bowler. See that guy? Guy's name is Derek Thomas. I'm sure you've seen some stuff about him. That guy? That guy is Rashawn Evans. Oh, this guy over here? Yeah, Reuben Foster. That's all I'm doing. Sometimes I do think that Alabama football, believe me, I'm no Alabama fan, but I'm calling it like I see it. Only time I ever even remotely pull for Alabama is because I've got family members who have ties and degrees and all that stuff. But you got to give credit where credit's due. Sometimes I think Alabama has had so many good players for so long that I think sometimes the fans don't appreciate guys who would be absolute superstars if they played anywhere else. And you look at them saying, yeah, he was pretty good. Josh Jacobs, he's all right. TJ Yeldon, he's a good back. TJ Yeldon would have been one of the top 3 backs in the history at Georgia Tech. Josh Jacobs would have run for 1,500 yards more than once if he played for Oklahoma State. Sherman Williams. I mean, think about it. Glenn Coffey, really good back. Sometimes the fans, it's like the national championships. Drives me crazy. Was that the Texas national championship, or was that the one where we beat Clemson? No, that was when you lose track of your national championships. All I'm saying is I think Alabama fans you can go to Barnes & Noble and you can go back to the sports books section and the sports biography section. It's over in the back near the magazines. And you can find 45 books about Alabama football. Buy a couple. Check them out from the library. You can find a lot of them, unfortunately, at the thrift stores because people read them and donate them. But read up on some of that stuff. There's a lot of really good football players. I know they put posters of them on the walls inside the Malmore building, but if I'm a high school player and I want to play in the league, especially if I'm a linebacker or a running back or something, I'm stressing the guys who had played before me. It's been absolutely incredible. C.J. Mosley is a good example. Oh, yeah, C.J., he's still in the league? Yeah, he just retired. Oh, yeah, see, I hadn't been. C.J. Mosley was fantastic. And again, if he played at Northwestern, they'd have a statue outside the stadium for a guy like that. Alabama, it's like, oh, yeah, he was pretty good. I'm not scolding you or anything. I'm just trying to make a point. Man, they've had a bajillion really good players over there. Sorry. This is cropped up. Yep, Dennis. When you're the Lifetime Achievement Award winner with Longshore and McKnight for your many years of service, you shouldn't have to resort to this. Please acknowledge my comments this morning. Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, Dennis says, yeah, we need to, this is one of the, hi, Barry, suggestion, get some phone lines so people can call into the show. We've had back and forth about that, Dennis. Number one, it's expensive. There is not an absolute main studio bank of phones anywhere. We'd have to buy them. We'd have to buy the interfaces and the hybrids and all that stuff. And that's expensive. But then again, also, we have a lot of our viewers and listeners who like it better this way. That we have content, we have features, we have, on-camera guests and stuff like that. So we're juggling around. It's not that we're not considering it, but, there are more factors than just, hey, here's my cell phone. Call it. We'll put you on the air. You can't do that. I don't know that an apology would be enough from me to let you know just how badly I feel that you have to resort to telling me to acknowledge your comments this morning. I should have been all over those, Dennis. That is 100% my fault. When we come back on Longshore and McKnight, it's the topic wheel. You guys have been saying, spin it. Let's spin it. The Victoryland 777 topic wheel is next. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Known by avid golfers as one of the most beautiful and challenging stops on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, Cambrian Ridge in Greenville lies just 40 miles from Montgomery. It is well worth the ride for any golfer looking for 27 holes of jaw-dropping golf. The greens have been redesigned to accommodate the higher green speeds associated with their installation of the latest generation of ultra-dwarf Bermuda grass. Cambrian Ridge offers a fully stocked pro shop with all the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge for tee times and more information.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitchers' duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times await. Get some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
I got to admit, I was obsessing yesterday on the LSU-Arkansas game. I know what was happening with the Braves game. Chris Sale was dealing. I read about it this morning in show prep and all that. There's no NHL game. The finals are over. No NBA game. Game 6 tonight. So, I just, hung on every pitch in the baseball game. When we get to the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel, I have a sinking suspicion that there's going to be a lot on that wheel today that I just don't know about. Because, keeping track, doing a daily show, and our show is largely a sports show, but it's not only a sports show. We get into culture, humor, daily life, and all that. But when you're running a daily sports show, it's a lot like shaving. You got to do it every day or else it starts to show. So I didn't do much of it yesterday. I will say this. When you're watching ESPN, and again, I am a huge fan of the ESPN crew doing the College World Series. It's the best baseball crew in the country. Mike Monaco, not a big Carl Ravitch guy. Mike Monaco, Chris Burke, Kyle Peterson. Those are my three. When those three are together, they're the best. Last night, it was Carl Ravitch, who does Major League Baseball. Not a Carl Ravitch fan. But when they're cooking, when they've got the guys, when they've got Monaco and Peterson and Chris Burke, I'm telling you, there's none better out there. But when you're watching ESPN and they're scrolling, the stuff down at the bottom, the scroll used to be just for scores. Every once in a while, Gurn Jr. will scroll down underneath, the guest name, some stuff like that. And we love it when he puts that stuff down there. But in the ESPN, that scroll gets on my nerves after a while. How many times when I'm watching a game where your eye drawn to the bottom that says Shadur Sanders arrested going 101 in a 60-mile-an-hour zone? I got that. What else was it yesterday? Tyrese Halliburton says he'll do everything in order to play in Game 6. And they run it like twice a minute. Like, okay, gosh. Any scores? So anyway, with all of that, that's about my only exposure to sports outside the College World Series yesterday. So we got to get it going with the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 Topic Wheel. And we've got 7. I'm just saying most of those, I may be scrambling on. Let's spin it. Brought to you by Victoryland 777 Casino, exit 22 off I-85 in Shorter, Alabama. We got like 3 shades of green. Not bussin' starts us off. Here we go. Oh, I thought you were talking like school bus. Yeah, this was the other thing that was on the scroll underneath there. Jerry Buss was the owner for the Lakers for a long time. He's no longer with us. I think John C. Reilly played him in that Showtime thing. They have sold a controlling interest in the Lakers for $10 billion to an investment group. And that investment group includes Magic Johnson. The guy's name's Mark Walter, who heads the group. He's already owns a good bit of the Lakers. And, he's got stock in the LA Dodgers. His holding group's got stock in the Dodgers. It's a huge deal, literally and figuratively. $10 billion. That's the largest sale of any sports franchise in the history of the world. But it's worth it. And again, you got Magic involved in it as well. The Buss family, when Jerry passed, his daughter, I think her name's Jeannie. Wasn't she dating Phil Jackson or something? I can't remember. The Buss family had it since 1979. So do the math. That's 46 years of owning the Lakers, and they've won 11 championships in those 46 years. The new ownership group probably won't be able to tell the difference, to be honest. I could care less about who the owners are unless they're not spending money to make my team better. That's why I like Shahid Khan owning the Jaguars. But by and large, it's the same thing. The owners trying to lower expenses, lower payroll, and increase revenue. They're going to do that no matter whether they're running an NBA team or running a lumber company. So, yeah, that's news. No question. $10 billion gets you the Los Angeles Lakers. Back to the wheel. Here we go. Spin it. Fire it up. One of the greens is already out. We may be in for another one. No, this is Bumps and Bruises. Bumps and Bruises, which is what my athletic hurt feels like. Oh, no. Panthers win the Stanley Cup. And you know what it's like. You're drinking champagne out of it. Evidently, they banged it up. The bowl of the Stanley Cup is cracked. The bottom is dented. This has happened before. They partied with the cup into the wee hours going on in Fort Lauderdale Wednesday afternoon. Somebody either dropped it or, accidentally put an elbow into it or didn't mean to hit it with the champagne bottle so hard and all that. They get it buffed out. I mean, you can take it over to the auto body place and they can knock out some dents. The Lightning dropped the cup during their parade. The Avalanche dented it right after they got it. It dropped it and all that kind of stuff. Who was the Alabama player when Alabama won the national championship and they had some sort of a tour for the college football playoff championship? It's Crystal. Alabama player accidentally bumped into it and it crashed. Was it Carson Tinker? Am I right with that? That stuff happens. It really does. I remember Troy won the New Orleans Bowl one year. And John Saunders, the late great ESPN announcer, he handed Larry Blakeney the New Orleans Bowl trophy right in front of everybody. There were thousands of people there, and I was there. And that thing's heavy. And Blakeney, who was a terrific athlete when he was at Auburn, he fumbled it for a moment, but he caught it. He's got, some athleticism to him. Otherwise, he'd have dropped the bowl trophy right in front of everybody. It happens. It happens. You just got to be careful with it. Let's go back to the wheel. Let me see where we are time-wise. We should have room for another couple of spins before we take our final break. Let's get it fired up here. Not sure how to pronounce one of these. Dun-dun. All right, this is called collapse. I have a suspicion here. Collapse. No, this is not what I was thinking of, but I heard about this. Orioles, they were all that last year. They were terrific last year. Won the East, I think. Made the playoffs. They are horrendous this year. And I'm a closet Oriole fan because Melanie Newman is one of the play-by-play voices of the Baltimore Orioles, and I worked with her when she was at Troy. But they're horrendous this year, and I can't tell you why. They've still got really good players, Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson from Selma. They were up 8-0 over the Rays. 8-0. And again, they won 101 games 2 years ago. They were supposed to be a playoff team. 10 games under 500. They were up 8-0 in the second. I mean, they're rolling, right? They're playing that game at Steinbrenner Field, the Yankees spring training deal in Tampa. And I mean, they were up 8-0, second inning, blowing them out. That was it. They lose the game 12-8. 8 unanswered. They tie it in the fifth. It's not that they had to do the ninth. I mean, Rays were down 8 in the second. They tie it in the fifth. Brandon Lau, a big day for Tampa Bay. Worst loss of the year for the Orioles, and I can't tell you why. I don't know why they're struggling as badly as they are. They've got talent, but they are just horrendous right now in the division in the National League East, where, again, the class of the division right now is the Yankees and the Rays. The Rays have been playing great. Rays are 8 games over 500. Orioles are dead last, 11 games back of the pack. One more before we go to break. On our Victoryland 777 topic wheel, we'll leave, I always like leaving 3 for our final segment to give us a little bit of time. Let's see. On the verge or on the edge? What would it be? On the verge. Oh, yep. The Stu Sternberg has owned the Rays for many years. And again, the Rays are the major league affiliate of the local team here in Montgomery, the Montgomery Biscuits. They have been trying for years and years and years to get out of Tropicana Field, even before it got blown down by the hurricane last year. And Stu Sternberg, he's had great teams. They've been terrific. They have one of the lowest payrolls always in the major leagues. The problem is still I mean, they've been in World Series, they've won divisions. Nobody comes to see them play. I thought a lot of it, and we've talked about it extensively, is because of the stadium. It's like playing, Tropicana Field is like playing in a circular warehouse. It's got no ambiance. Plus, it's terrible to try to get to because it's in St. Petersburg. And St. Petersburg is right at the top of the peninsula. It ain't easy to get to from Tampa. Well, they've been trying to get a new stadium. Dennis Mitchell has kept us updated on the stadium travails. Well, they have turned down the city, Tampa and St. Pete, whoever, I think this is Tampa, has turned down another bid to build the Rays a stadium. They got to have one now. They can't play in the Yankees spring training field forever. And I don't think they'll ever be able to get Tropicana Field back to where it was, which was terrible anyway. So now he's got to sell them. And believe me, this is further implications that not only is he going to sell the Rays because he can't get a stadium deal, but that means if he closes the deal, if he finds one and closes it, they're going to move. They're not going to stay in Tampa. They can't. They got no place to play. So he's now looking for a buyer, and when he finds one, they ain't going to stay in Tampa. The group that is offering $1.7 billion is in Jacksonville. Would it be Jacksonville? One of the smallest markets in the NFL? Would it be Nashville? Would it be Charlotte? Would it be San Antonio? Would it be Portland? There's a lot of options. But what this means, as much as anything, is that is the death knell for Major League Baseball in Tampa Bay. That's what that means. Let's take a break. Our final of the show. When we come back, we'll wrap it up with the Victoryland 777 Topic Wheel presented by Guerin Jr. in association with Yellowhammer News, Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Ford announces employee pricing on every new 24 and most new 25 Fords, and only at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, up to $5,000 below employee pricing, plus no payments for 90 days. From America, for America, at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, home of America's best-selling truck for nearly 50 years in a row, the F-150, with hundreds to choose from. The Ford Escape, the Ford Edge, and the Ford Bronco, all priced at thousands below invoice. And pack up the crew in a Ford Expedition or a Ford Explorer for the beach, the lake, or the big game. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust.
It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Yeah, I see you working, gang. I see you working on this. Yeah, if Stu Sternberg sells the Rays, they're moving out of Tampa. They've tried. They've had good teams. They've done everything. They've had World Series teams. They've had division champion teams. They've had great players, Carlos Pena and David Price and Evan Longoria and Kevin Kiermaier and stuff. Fans just won't go there. Nashville would be my choice. I've actually broadcast from the old park for the Nashville Sounds, which is downtown. I can't remember the name of it, but I've done games from there before. I had the big guitar above the above the scoreboard. Let's see. The capacity of their ballpark, 10,000. Yeah, this is the old park. A new major league stadium, Nashville is, I mean, they're priming the pump here. Let's take a look. Yeah, click that. Let's see if Nashville gets a team. What'll it look like? I like it. Again, the ownership group that's making a bid for the Rays is in Jacksonville, but that doesn't mean anything. Nashville is a growth area. I mean, it is sweet in Nashville. I love that place. Spent a lot of time there. That'd be my choice. I'm with Plainsman Preston. San Antonio's too hot. That's the reason why they had to build that retractable stadium in Dallas. Same thing in Houston. It's just hot. So, yeah, Gurn Jr., I see him working. He's Nashville Chamber of Commerce here, trying to mean that. Yeah, I like it. Let's go back to the topic wheel. We got a little bit of time before the top of the hour to try to finish out the topic wheel. But yeah, if the Rays go, and I think they will, why not Nashville? Would be my choice. Too easy. Sometimes the Phantom feels that way when he wins a daily dog. Is the Travelers host course too easy? Let's see. They're coming up. It's coming up. It's in Cromwell, Connecticut. The Travelers, it's kind of like the Byron Nelson. It's not the biggest. It's not a major or anything. It's just familiar. The Travelers Championship, go up just a little bit. The TPC River Highlands course up in Cromwell, Connecticut. Scheffler says, and Scheffler won it last year, by the way. He says, it's too easy. Quote, I think a proper test is good shots being rewarded and bad shots being punished. He says, I think this is one of the best golf courses for that. There's opportunity there. There's also punishment, I've never seen a golf course that was too easy. What he's talking about are scores. You know, when you win a tournament at 20-something under, yeah, he says, do we care that 22 under wins this week? No. I played good last week. And if they somehow change it to 12 under by making the pins in silly spots and doing things to trick up the golf course, what we want is a fair test. You know, you don't want to trick it up with gimmicks and all that. But yeah, we'll see. And really, Scheffler, his name and his voice has a lot of juice. But I don't mind an easy golf course. Give me one every time, and I will not complain. Of course, Oakmont is crazy, insane hard. You need to have some sort of a happy medium there. Well, let's keep going. I think we got two more. Two more coming up. Brought to you by Victoryland 777 Casinos, exit 22 I-85 in Shorter, Alabama. Ooh, world record? I missed this one. Maybe I did. World record. Oh, holy smokes, I did see that. This is not a sports deal. Quadruplets delivered at UAB. That lady looks familiar. Quadruplets delivered at UAB to Lavaris Bryant. It's his wife. I can't think of her name. Quad is 4. 23 weeks and 4 days pregnant. 23 weeks, that ain't much. 30 doctors, 2 girls, 2 boys. Evidently, they keep track of this. The Guinness World Record title for the most premature quadruplets. Again, 23 weeks. Yikes. That ain't much. The most premature quadruplets record was it's a record was set back in 1987. And there they are. Golly. Somebody, it may have to be a GoFundMe account. I don't care if that guy's a millionaire. If Dad's a millionaire. Whew. That's expensive. All of a sudden, 4 kids. Yikes, I've got 1. He's grown now, so I don't have to worry about it. But geez, 4 all at once? That's difficult. Okay, here's the one that I'm interested in. Right? Dun dun. Is that how we pronounce it? Dun dun dun. Dun dun. Go ahead and let's roll it and make it official here. Dun dun. Last one. Here we go. Dun dun. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Jaws was released 50 years ago tomorrow. 50 years ago. It was the first summer blockbuster. Look, in 1975, I was living in Palm Bay, Florida. Is that right? Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard to remember. And I mean, nobody wanted to go to the beach. Yeah, go up just a little bit. Yeah, they built 3 animatronic. Go up just a little bit. 81 minutes into the first film before we get to see an actual shark. That's part of it. We all remember the opening. Number one, I read the book before I ever saw the movie, so I kind of knew. I didn't realize Spielberg was only 27. But yeah, you remember the opening. That girl, that pretty girl, middle of the night, maybe had a little bit too much to drink. She's partying with her friends on the beach. She goes run out into the Amityville Harbor and, going around, da-da-da. And then all of a sudden she gets yanked and she's like, what the heck? And then, it shows her, I can't get started. That one, as a young person, haunted my dreams for a while. And so did at the very end when Quint, the Robert Shaw character, when he gets eaten by that shark off that boat. No. I had read the book. I knew what was going to happen. Still, though, man. And you only saw the shark for 4 minutes. That was part of it. You didn't need to see the shark. That was part of the scariness of it, is you never could see it coming. 4 minutes of screen time for the great white shark in Jaws. I saw it when it came out. I saw it that summer in Palm Bay, Florida, which is on the beach. Didn't go to the beach all summer, I promise. Now you got summer blockbusters all the time. Well, that's our show today. Our Quincy's 777 Victoryland Topic Wheel. Appreciate that. Much appreciation as well to Gurin Jr. for curating all that, getting that to us. It's always great. Also appreciative of Colin McCrary for joining us here. Colin, of course, works as a marshal on NBC's television coverage of the PGA Tour and got some anecdotes about what's happening at Oakmont and what's happening coming up. Also, our visit from Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, presented by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Tomorrow on the show, I'll be live from Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, Alabama, starting at 7 o'clock live, joined by Jason Jones to talk a lot about the NIL and the house settlement and what you guys need to look for in layman's terms, looking for that and a lot of other stuff as well. Thanks for being with us. Tell all your friends, hit like and subscribe. For Gurin Jr., our producer emeritus, I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.